We are going to talk about the first 2 episodes of Fallout. We were gonna try to do the full series, but goddamn, these episodes were long. I could only make it through 2.
Yes.
I know you've made it through 4. So
I have.
I don't want to know about those 2, but
I was going to spoil them, but okay.
So far, this is easily the best live-action depiction of a video game.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
That first episode, the beginning of that first episode.
It feels like Fallout. It really does.
Feels like Fallout. It was so well done.
Yeah.
Seeing Walter Goggins and his daughter.
Yeah.
And he's an aged TV star or movie star, and he's doing kids' birthday parties now. But like seeing the slow motion of her like putting her thumb up, I was like, dude, this is so good.
Yeah. And it's
so
just like,
good.
I don't know, because I don't know all of Fallout's history. Okay. I know enough to get by. But like, I don't know if that's a thing where like the whole hold your thumb up is part of the canon or not. But I love the idea of taking that iconic Fallout thumbs up of the
and using that
of
as
the Pip-Boy and having that be one of those iconic first shots of the whole thing. I like this a lot. It's very intense.
It's very
intense. There have been a few moments here and there where I've seen a little bit of like the CGI is not great here at times.
Yeah, you can tell it's a made for TV at certain points.
So, and there's a lot of the stuff with Maximus that I'm like, is this going anywhere?
I don't really give a shit about Maximus.
And so like the Lucy McLean stuff, who apparently she's not John McClane's descendant, but also is Lucy McLean.
Ella Purnell.
Yeah.
Dude.
She does a great job.
And not only because this game mainly, and I just started playing Fallout 4 again, which I had started when it first came out, and I fell off quickly. But they're doing a next gen update on it in a couple weeks, so I thought I'd start it again. This is definitely a Fallout 3.
I was about to say this is the plot of Fallout 3.
This is
I know enough to know that this is the plot of Fallout 3.
And it's just because Fallout 4, you're not leaving a vault that has dwellers in it. You were like abducted and frozen, and you come out of a vault. But, like, just the way she acts and the way all of the people in the vault act. Dude. Yeah. Right out of the fucking video game.
No, it's great. It's amazing.
And her optimism and all. It's just so good.
And the way that her dad gets kidnapped. It's, like, straight out of Fallout 3. It's the beginning of Fallout 3.
So good. Walter Goggins.
Yes. Walton Goggins he's very fascinating in this. Yeah. I really, like, he is the character that, without giving anything away, every time I see any more of his backstory, I'm like, I need to fucking know more. Yeah. What the fuck is going on with this guy? And not just because he's a ghoul and I don't know how the fuck the ghoul stuff works in this world, but like, there's a lot of interesting character pathos things where I'm like, and how did we get here? What happened? What happened exactly that we got here? I will say Norm, I don't like. Norm is the brother of Lucy.
Yeah.
And I can't pin his age for the life of me. He looks like he's in his 40s. He's very short. He seems like maybe he's supposed to be in his 20s.
Yeah, because the actor's 30.
I can't pin an age on this guy. He doesn't look like a child, but they act like he's a child. So I can't tell. Is he in his 20s? Is he just getting into his 20s? Is he in his 30s and he's just a little bit, behind where everybody else is because he doesn't care and that's his whole character arc? I need a little bit of a little extra help with that, of just like, I'm distracted by it.
Yeah.
And, him and Chet, I'm like, this is interesting. We're going to see where this goes. But I do like Lucy and Ella Purnell in particular are the saving grace of this whole thing. Her and the dog that we meet is also great. And I never want anything bad to happen to that dog, which of course means that many bad things will happen to that dog.
And that's like kind of part of Fallout 4 because of Fallout 4 you meet that dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're kind of mixing it. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
And that they're kind of taking the best parts of each game, where I'm sure one of the Fallouts took place in LA. The ones that I know were Vegas and Washington, D.C. and Boston were the ones that I remember. And then the newest one, 76, took place in West Virginia.
Yeah.
But I'm sure one of the early Fallout games probably took place in LA. That would make sense. And I just really like the look and feel of the show. It's so authentic to the game. Right down to when I'm trying to describe it to my in-laws last night when we were having dinner, I have to be like, okay, well, where do I start? Because I have to establish that this has a lot of 50s feel and nostalgia, but also that it's post-apocalyptic, but also that it has all these other little remnants scattered throughout it. So it's like, where do I begin? Because it's like, it's not just that it's the 50s, it's that nuclear fission worked in the 50s, and then they had like a few years of growth based off of that, and then they had the nuclear fallout, and then you fast forward 200 years.
And they don't, at least the episodes I haven't seen, they haven't got into it, but I think they're gonna have to get into, like, if you start Fallout 4, they mentioned that after the bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the U.S. government took nuclear power and technology, and that's what gave us like robots and all that futuristic stuff.
Exactly. That's why everything is made out of metal, but it's more futuristic than anything that they would have had. So that's like one of the things that you have to explain, like, yeah, so it's the 50s, but nuclear fission worked out.
Yeah.
And so it's like all that tech that the 50s loved that never could be, it's all real.
Yes.
And there's just so many things that you have to be like, okay, so in order to understand anything of what's going on, you need to understand this and this. And that's kind of the thing with the ghoul, is I thought I knew how ghouls worked, where I thought that they were just overly exposed to radiation. It was just a mutation. But now I'm like, I don't know, because he was buried in the ground.
Well, and the thing is, I saw an interview with him, and they had asked him this question, and he said, if you watch his performance, it's kind of an underlying thing, but his character is worried about becoming a feral ghoul.
Oh, it's not an underlying thing. They get into it.
Oh, they do get into it later episodes. Okay, but yeah, it's like, and he's like, even in the early episodes, you could tell he's like a little nervous. Like, it could happen, and he'll lose his fucking mind.
Yeah, exactly.
It did throw me off. Betty Pearson, who plays one of the elders of the Vault, is Blind Al from Deadpool.
That's what I knew her from.
And so I'm watching, because I just watched Deadpool 2 again. Yeah. And I'm like, that's fucking Blind Al.
That's so funny, because the entire time I was like, I know it's not Nichelle Nichols.
No.
Because she had died by the time they went into production on this.
Who
are you?
Fucking Blind Al, man. I'm dying as I'm watching it. I'm like, and she was awesome as the elder. And I'm like, dude, that opening part where Moldover and the
rebel, the
not Ravagers,
I mean, they're basically Ravagers.
Yeah, when they
the feral humans,
when they break in and start tearing shit up, that was a fucking intense opening.
That was an intense opening, because like the entire time you're sitting there like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah,
something's wrong. Something feels very wrong.
That's what they're
scavengers. And I'm just sitting there like, Dale Cooper, do you know what's going on?
Yeah,
because something's going on.
But like when he gets up, after they have their post-wedding nuptial sex, and he's drinking the water, and she's looking at him, and she's like, I know
something
fucking
weird.
And I'm happy
here.
that they did show her like training.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't out of the blue that she kicked his ass and fucking like broke that thing on his face. It's like, oh yeah, she totally can do that.
She can take care of herself.
Yeah. So I'm happy they showed that first part.
That was a nice little easy in of like, here's Lucy. This is literally everything you need to know about her. Yes. And this is why she's being given this great position in the vault.
And what's great about that from the narrative side of it is that is like your character creator, where they're showing intellect, stamina, and they're showing all the things you have to decide about your character, but they just showed you that of her, and I was like, dude, that's genius.
Yeah. And I really like the look of the vault in general. Like, it's enough to get the vault doors right, but the whole look of everything in the vault and the jumpsuits and the feel, all of it just feels so authentic to Fallout. Where like even the stuff that I might not be canon because I don't know, that like there's no Master Chief taking off his helmet here, I guess is the best way to put it. Where you're watching it and you're waiting for something stupid to happen, and it doesn't, because it's an authentically well-made show that is interested in the world itself. It's not a I look at Halo as kind of like the Elon Musk buying Twitter of shows. You have this whole property that everybody's been waiting for so long, and you finally got your hands on it, and the first thing you do is ruin it.
Then you fuck it up.
What was the point? What was the fucking point, man? But Fallout doesn't have that problem. Yeah. You know, even simple stuff like the projector that they have is so fascinating to me to look at. And seeing Kyle MacLachlan, you know, being kind of a badass, you know, I really enjoyed.
But I like that turn.
Yeah.
Because he just seems like this, like,
he's just this dad. He's just this friendly dad.
The 50s dad, the Mr. Cleaver. Yeah. And then he turns into...
Yeah, he drowns the guy in pickles.
Yeah, fucking drowns him in pickles. It's like, holy shit, dude. That was a turn.
He comes up with the shovel, and I'm like, get him, Dale Cooper. Yeah. You get him. knock him out.
So good.
I really do enjoy it. I think that the Maximus stuff slows the show down for me.
It does.
And that's frustrating because I really like all the other elements. Even the Michael Emerson stuff, I like. It's really just the Maximus stuff that really puts this big just wall down on everything that's happening, where it's like in the first episode it's fine because it's you have this big chunk of time with Lucy and then you have this big chunk of time with Max, and then they start intercutting between the two. But like as the show goes on and you spend more time with Max, I'm like, this dude fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I don't like him. And like it's not like you're not supposed to like him, you're supposed to be cheering for him, but I'm just like, you fucking suck, dude.
It kind of, this is, and I agree with you, this is the only like negative I would have, is it kind of reminds me of the John Boyega in Star Wars, where it's like you introduce this character, you get us to want to like him, and then you don't really fucking do anything with them.
Yeah.
When then Rey, who kind of was the second, like, I mean, mind you, Lucy is the primary character from the get-go, but it's like,
Rey is like the
this
third
is the only
character
character you give a shit about. Kind of like Rey was in Star Wars, where you're like, I don't really give a fuck about John Boyega because you just threw him as his storylines don't really matter.
His storylines don't line up. They don't come from anywhere. They don't seem to mean anything.
Yeah.
The whole Brotherhood of Steel thing is interesting, but not developed well. So, like, you'll have the whole rigmarole and all of the ceremony and everything that they put into almost this religious kind of style of, like, they are Knights Templars, how they approach it. And then in episode 2, when we meet the bear, all that is thrown right out the window. Yep. And I'm just like, but wait a minute, what the fuck? That was the only part of this that I found interesting. So now all of these guys are asshole hypocrites too. I knew that was probably the case, but thanks for confirming it. I guess I won't get my hopes up.
And like, if you think about it, and first off, completely caught off guard when Michael Rappaport was underneath the armor for that first one.
I was like, is that him?
It was fucking him. I was like,
him.
Damn it. I don't necessarily like the Brotherhood of Steel parts because technically it's kind of like a side quest.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be this like guild type thing. Like it happens in a lot of Bethesda games that you could join the guild. It's not really a major part of the story. So why that's like the second half of this story you're trying to tell. I don't quite get that.
And it's just like, without giving anything away, the further down that road we get, the more decisions that they make, where I'm just like, oh, and now I have to deal with this too?
Yeah.
And you're just like, come on, man. Like, this could have been cool and interesting, and instead it's, you know, the 13-year-old boy in Iron Man 3 gets the armor.
Yeah.
Basically that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, all right. And is this guy good at anything? Doesn't seem like he's good at anything. He sabotages his friend to get their position. And every time anything happens, he just kind of is sitting there shocked and scared, and then at the last moment makes a decision. But that's every single time with this guy. And I'm like, come on, man.
I agree. So, I mean, overall, I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. I want them to tune it up a little bit as we watch it. I'm very curious about a lot of stuff, and without giving away any of the backstory stuff is really fascinating.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I want them to get, I every time I see a clip, I'm like, give me more of that. I need more of it. Give me more. That was why I kept on watching. That's why I watched 3 episodes in one night, was because I just wanted more of that.
And it's like,
backstory.
why couldn't you have taken out Maximus and the Brotherhood storyline and just had more like flashbacks of what got us, or even showing like early days in the shelters? I think that would have been a little more interesting.
There was a better way to do this where the Brotherhood of Steel can still be a reference point, so you can still do merch and put the armor in the trailers and all these other things. But I think that you could have also done this a little cleaner and a little better,
and especially
without
if this turns out to just be like a love interest thing between him and Lucy.
It really feels like it.
It feels like it, and that pisses me off. It's like, you don't need to have a fucking love interest. It's like, she doesn't even know what love is. She thinks you just marry somebody to reproduce.
Yeah.
That's fucking love. Like, she doesn't even know. So it's like, why do you got to give her, like, she sees any guy that looks halfway decent and she's like, oh, hey.
Yeah, her only romantic...
What's your sperm count?
Yeah, her only romantic partners have been her cousin and one scavenger.
Dude, that interaction with her and her cousin, too, was the best. She goes, you know, having having
fun with cousins,
or fun sexual experiences with cousins is
experimenting with cousins.
Yeah. That's fucking awesome.
The fight scene in the second episode, I did want to touch on this before we go on, where I do really like that fight scene and the kind of introduction of Michael Emerson and the dog, where the dog is more the character than Michael Emerson is, because he's literally dead by the end of the episode. He becomes a MacGuffin, or I guess more his head becomes a MacGuffin.
It becomes like Futurama, the heads in the
Yeah,
jars.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but like, I really like that fight that they all have in Town Square in Philly. I thought that was really well done. And the production design of Philly as its own thing was also excellent. I really, really love that. And like, you know, you still have some weird things when she's wandering down and she gives the guy water and he's like, you could stay here and we could have sex.
Yeah.
And that scene just went on a little too long.
I agree.
Of like, this is going nowhere. This is nothing. This doesn't mean anything to the plot.
And that guy seemed like, I couldn't quite place that guy, but that one also seemed like somebody I should know. Like, I'm looking at him like, man, I think I know that guy.
Yeah, you might know him if he's wearing pants.
Yeah.
That was weird. You can't recognize a guy without pants on.
That was a very weird.
Yeah, it was a weird choice. And, like, it was just one of those funny comedic choices that went on a little too long.
I agree.
It wasn't funny enough for how much time and effort we put into it. But I do really like this show, and the production design of the show I think is the biggest key to why I like the show. The acting from Ella Purnell and Walton Goggins is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Walton Goggins is great.
But like the production design and the captivating nature of the world, they just get me so deeply, or just grabs me and pulls me in. And I just want to keep on watching more. Even after we decided that we weren't going to cover the entire show, I had a moment where I was like, well, I guess I don't need to keep watching it, but I kind of want to. But I'll save it because I want to have it more fresh in my mind when we're talking about it next time. But I am really enjoying this show a lot. Even the parts that annoy me, where, you know, you have irritating actors or irritating storylines or things that you don't really care about. Even those things aren't that big a deal.
But it's like, I had to throw this in there. How random was it that McLetty Williamson, a.k.a. Bubba Gump,
was he in there?
He was the one that digs up Walter Goggins.
Really? That was him?
That was him.
I did not recognize him.
Yes.
I did not recognize him.
I'm watching. I'm like, is that fucking Bubba Gump? And then he dies right away. Like, he buries him. He's like, oh. Yeah. That was quick.
Yeah.
Completely threw me off.
That whole scene was so fascinating because, like, that was the scene where I was like, I thought I knew how ghouls worked.
Yeah,
and now I don't know.
I think I need to look more into the lore of Fallout.
Yeah,
like, I thought I knew Fallout because I played all of 3 and I played Fallout.
I thought I knew how this worked, and now I'm not sure.
I'm kind of curious now.
And so now I'm wondering, is this a Master Chief's helmet situation where you changed just one little thing?
It could be. It could be.
Maybe.
So we will talk about this more next week, and I don't know if we'll get to all the remaining 6 episodes next week, but we will touch on it more.
continue for the next week at least to talk about Fallout.